Massive welcome to everyone and glad to have you here. Just ran through a quick look at the points for both our Pro and Pro-Am that have been looking to fight it out. And we have just hit qualifying for the start of our second round of the iRacing RaceFace.Pro GT3 Championship at the legendary Circuit du Mans, also known as Le Mans, as tonight we're going to be taking care of an 80-minute endurance race for drivers to really put the hammer down and see where they're going to end up. Full tanks are allowed to be used, but all 4 tires need to be changed during the course of the race. That leaves it down to strategy to get yourself to the top running order. Keep an eye on a couple of drivers. Robbie Teens has been putting in some great pace with his Ferrari. He's looking to try and fight it out for the top of the Pro-Am field. Cameron De Bastos for the pros, looking to really dig his heels in and try and improve after round 1. Jacco van der Lith hoping to give the chase. But a couple of drivers we want to go and look at. The likes of Yannis Constantine, who was incredibly quick in round 1. However, when it came to heat 2, it fell apart. He's looking to try and change that and make it work out in his favor. Around Le Mans, it's all about who can get the drive, who can get that top end down the Mozon straight into the hairpin. Now, drivers will be thinking about the strategy that's involved, but we are into qualifying, and everyone just trying to generate some heat into their tires and brakes before they get underway in full chase. It's going to be a pretty interesting time. It's like Randall exiting, coming through the Dunlop chicane and looking to follow his way through. He's got the likes of Janssen van Rensburg in his sights, looking to try and push that a little bit further as they go on. So drivers getting ready to start their lap times, start getting that qualifying underway, and ensure that they stay in for the fight. Willem Buerta also out there in the Ford Mustang, wanting to make it all work in his favor. The Ford Mustang got incredible straight line speed and hoping that that's going to all work in his favor. However, it's going to turn into a very interesting drive down the Mozon straight, because the challenging cars that seem to be working is the Aston Martin. The BMW is unfortunately not having that top end to work with him in their favor. So, as we got a couple of drivers starting to get their pace going and looking to put a valid lap time on the wall, getting some incredibly fast sectors, but no one going and putting a lap time just as yet here at Le Mans. We've got a 20-minute qualifying session for the drivers to really dig their heels in to figure out what they're going to do. At the moment, we have got the likes of Yasamai, Etienne Swart, all up in their sectors, trying to push that a little bit more. We're expecting about 300 kilometers an hour going down the main straight into the Mozon, and that is going to be the tough one to hit the brakes, especially as we move in towards the night. That will change where the braking markers are that the drivers can visually see, but also when you've got a bit of headlights in your rearview mirrors, it tends to make things a lot more interesting to try and keep ahead of the pack. However, we're going to be seeing some interesting moves, because a couple of the drivers during practice were actually discussing of how they can work with one another, especially to get bump drafts, especially to get the straight line pace that's needed to be at the top end of the field. Sergei Sarkov, one of the drivers that has done incredibly well in the past, now looking to make it all work. He's out there in the Aston Martin this time round versus the Ferrari that he was previously more comfortable in. He's hoping to make some pace come out from underneath him and hoping that's all going to work out in his favor. So the drivers will be thinking about all the different strategies, what they need to do, running low fuel, high fuel. You've got 20 minutes to play with here to go and really make work. Are you going to underfuel, run 3 laps, get in the pits, go back out again? Or are you going to focus on pushing that a little bit more and ensure that you stay in for the top running order? Still no times out on the board as yet for our drivers. Many are trying to get that little bit of pace out and going. However, not turning into an easy time to make it work in their favor, as just one wheel wrong is the invalidation, and you got to try again. This is a long lap, nearly 3 minutes a lap needed to just ensure they keep going. Still waiting on some of our fastest times to come through. Sergei Sarkov trying to improve his pace just that little bit more. Seems like quite a few drivers put a wheel wrong and unfortunately haven't had the easiest of time to put in a valid lap time. But Sergei Sarkov on for a charge through the Porsche curves, heading towards Chevrolet. So it's out through the right-hander. Keep it in 4th gear. Then you hook it right into this left-hander. Carry a lot of momentum. It's going to swing you out wide. Don't go too far. There'll be a slowdown and an incident point. Keep your foot absolutely flat all the way through to the chicane from 4th gear. Down into 3rd. Flick the car in. Hard on the brakes. Bring it down to 2nd. And eventually in through this left-hander. Put it in 1st gear and floor it to try and get the times out on the board. He does come across a lap and is the first one to get a lap on the board. A 3:35.2 as his top pace at the moment. Who's going to be able to break it? Well, we're going to have to wait just that little bit longer, as all the drivers seem to be mostly down towards Indianapolis. Cameron Bastos trying to follow his way through. Jakob van Lith will come on by. No lap time for him as yet, but puts one now across the line at 3:57.92. Jonathan Price up into 3rd place, now into 4th with that 3:58 as he loses out. Sergei Sarkov, Malcolm Pringle going and brawling out. 3:56.0 for Malcolm Pringle. Hoping to really get his teeth into this. Go and claw up a little bit of time. Quinton Costa leading out those in the Pro-Am at the moment with a 4:01 in that Porsche. He's now getting overtaken by Stephen Cakebread. Puts time flat onto the top. Leading out the Pro-Ams, Jonas Constantine chucks himself up into 2nd place. And first of the Pro-Ams with a long margin of 3:57.28. That is incredibly quick for the driver and is still getting a little bit more pace underneath him to try work out how is this going to be at the top of the order. What needs to be done to ensure they stay within a fighting chance. Not many times have been put on the board as yet. Stephen Vessel's the last of those that have got a time on the board. The rest, like Cameron DeBastos, Willem Buerta, Jaco Kutzer, Michael Donaldson, Eugene Berryman, Willem Pinot, Yassen Ishmael, Noah Hendricks, Johan Ingebrecht, Sean Sims, Dina Machai, Werner Skuman, Werner Swart, George Reyes, Jason Krinkers, Joshua Syme, Doug Herber, Wesley Lewin, Duncan Roderick, Etienne Swart, Honor Kraus, Paul Herber, and Loic Randabel still needing to get just a time on the board to stay within the fight. Tim Penny moves himself up into 12th position, trying to carry as much momentum as possible as he lines up behind the Porsche of Honor Kraus just ahead of him, and also fighting door to door with the likes of Robbie Teens as they both looking to improve. But our top 3, take a look at the difference. 0.004. It's 400th of a second lying in 3rd place at the moment. 2 BMWs riding out the top. The Aston down in 3rd place. Daniel Gilding following up with the Ferrari in 4th. Jacques Ever sits in 5th place, still hoping to make it work out in his favor. As we got 20 cars able to get a time on the board. Stephen Vessel's rounding out that pack. Doug Herber, who's going and putting on a charge. Hasn't had the easiest time at Red Bull Ring. He's hoping to really turn that luck around and stay within the fight. It's going to be a tough run for him as he will be looking to claw his way back into top contention. And after a very great run last season, it's going to be about putting it all together this season around. Cameron Bastos, still no time on the board. Waits to go and get a little bit more pace. Willem Buerta still hunting for a time to hook on the board. Jaco Kutzer and Michael Donaldson still pushing as hard as they can. Sergei Sarkov trying to come back through all sectors, but just losing out into the final sectors, really putting the hammer down. Is this going to be enough to jump him up into 2nd place to get past likes of Jonas Constantine, and really put that Aston Martin through its paces not to have a Pro-Am get ahead of him. Sergei Sarkov comes across the line. Is it enough? Unfortunately, not as the case. Still holds in for that third place. Gentleman Price down in 7th position, trying to gain some time on Jaco van der Lith, who is also carving his way through for the Rhino Racing team. The Team SBR will be putting a good time on the board. Jaco van der Lith trying to improve, and improved in some sectors, lost out a little bit too much. Gentleman Price up into 2nd place, down into 3rd as Jacques Ever comes in with a flying 356.045. Malcolm Pringle down into 2nd, but Jonas Constantine still leading out the Pro-Ams, is miles away from Stephen Cakebread in 14th overall. So Stephen Cakebread trying to dig deep here to make it work out in his favor. WJ Wilson moves up. Yasin Ishmael goes and moves up into the Pro-Am and is going to be more than happy on that stellar run with his Porsche. Jonas Constantine fires back with a 355.9. An absolute charge of note to make it work out in his favor, and has definitely put all in the grid on notice of what he's able to do. Steven Vessels down into 25th as Jan Engelbrecht puts a time in of a 4-minute 01.3. He's now giving a little bit of a toe to the likes of the Aston Martin on the back of him in the Pennzoil colors. Yeah, SMI trying to get out of the pits, hoping to make it work out in his favor. Still, likes of Cameron Bastos, Willem Buerta, Jaco Kutzer, Donaldson, Eugene Berryman, Sean Sims, Werner Skuman, George Reese, Jason Krinkers, along with Joshua Syme, Wesley Lewin, Honor Kraus, and Loic Randable, still battling to get a time on the board. But those lights are starting to become a little bit more ablaze. We're going to be starting in dark conditions, folks. It's going to get cold, and these drivers are going to have to think outside the box of what they're going to do, altering setups on the fly. Werner Swart up into the top 10, 9th overall as it stands, and still fighting in with the likes of the pros. Well, our Pro-Am of Jonas Constantine and Yasin Ishmael, who I do think will be landing up, moving up into Pro in very, very short time, have been putting in some great bit of momentum. Constantine into the pits, Janneman down into 3rd. Now we'll wait for a 3rd in the pros, 4th overall. Still waiting for his time to be there. Robbie Teens hoping to get a little bit more pace, just not getting it all hooked up at the moment. Still waiting for his opportunity. Willem Buerta making his way through. He has got the likes of Jacques Ever on the back of him. So as they make their way heading towards Indianapolis, it's going to be a little bit of a lift. Allow Jacques Ever through. So for Willem Buerta, he backs out of it. Says, listen, I'm down on my delta. I'm not going to run into too many problems through Indianapolis. Try and give it another shot a little bit further down the line. Willem Pinot in 25th position, hoping to make it all work. Unfortunately, down in Sector 1, up in Sector 2, down in Sector 3, up in 4, down in 5, up in 6. Waits to get towards the line, see if he can make it work out in his favor. It's going to be really standing on the gas now through the Ford chicane. From 4th, oh, not quite. Willem Pinot decides he's going to dive to pit lane and call it quits from there, as there's less than 4 minutes left in this qualifying session. Jacques Ever still running some good times at the moment, hoping to get into first place. Jonas Constantine with that 355.095 continues to hammer it down. Quick flash of the lights just to warn he's coming through. Dives in through the chicane. Is this going to be the flyer to put him into pole position and get away from Malcolm Pringle, who is so close in time as they come across the line? Jacques Ever unable to go and improve majorly, but just enough to go and get ahead of Jonas Constantine. Jans van Rensburg bumps himself up, and so does Malcolm Pringle, going and putting himself with a 354.68. Incredible pace there. Cameron Bastos backs it up. with a 3:54.75. Jacques Evans down into third. Constantine into fourth place. Still a little bit of time on the board for those drivers out on the circuit to see if they can make it work. Yasin Ismail hoping to really get that little bit of pace. He has got the likes of Arno Kraus on the back of him, trying to force, hey, listen, we need to go. We need to make this work. We need to sit in that top 10 if we're wanting to fight it out against the likes of Jonas Constantine. Wesley Lewin down in 14th position. Third of the Pro-Ams, still hoping to get a little bit more pace. Runs up very, very wide on the entrance to the Mozon Straight. That's going to lose him a little bit of time. And also, we'll have to land up lifting a little bit. Paul Gerber in the Mercedes AMG GT3R now continues on his pace at G3 Evo, having a stellar run. Taking a look to our 19th position, Jan Engelbrecht through the Porsche curves, up in all sectors. This is a personal best for him. Is it going to be enough to bump him a little bit closer towards that top 10? He comes out flying with the McLaren. Is it going to be enough of a chase to move up into the top 10? Target lap time for him to beat is at 3:56.7. It's not going to be this time as he dives into pit lane. Duncan Roderick also down in all sectors. Won't be improving his moment. Sorry, this is not Arno Kraus. This is Duncan Roderick. Got to get that right. Still part of Team Try Hard. Just a very nice color scheme with the purple. Willem Pinot rounding out our qualified pack. We still, unfortunately, haven't seen a time on the board for likes of Willem Buerta, Michael Donaldson, Eugene Berryman, Sean Sims, along with Werner Skuhlmann, George Reyes, Joshua Syme, and Loic Randebel, who still need to put a time on the board to stay within the fight. Unfortunately, it isn't going to look too good for them. Arno Kraus out there in the BMW for the 28th position, and does get a good time across the line at 4 minutes 01.038. He's up into 24th. That is a crucial climb for him to get away from the back and ensure he can still keep in for the fight of our Pro-Ams, as he will lie 7th at the moment. Duncan Roderick, unfortunately, next one to come on by, is down in all sectors. This is just practice laps at the moment for him to feel the car out. Willem Buerta trying to put in a little bit more pace down in sector 2, but up in all previous sectors. He's hoping to make it work out in his favor. Donaldson also going and increasing his pace, but with only 5 seconds remaining now in qualifying, the drivers will be seeing the checkered flag. And unfortunately, if you haven't got a time on the board just as yet, you're going to be starting at the back of the pack. As Buerta continues on his pace, hoping to get to the checkered flag just in time. Michael Donaldson cruising up, will not be able to get to the line. Cross the curbing, dives towards the start-finish line. Willem Buerta does put in a very good lap time and moves himself up into 12th position. Cameron Bastos puts himself at the top of the grid with a 3:54.4. Malcolm Pringle will start side by side with him as our drivers see the end of qualifying, and it will be looking towards what will the race be. WJ Wilson out there in 10th position, still trying to improve that 3:56.7. As the timer will tick over, we will start to look at our grid, and it's going to be an absolutely packed one here tonight, folks, as we get ready to race 80 minutes around Le Mans. It is our endurance round of our GT3 Championship. They had a bit of heat racing. Now it's time for endurance. A little bit of a twist during the course of the championship that does make things rather exciting and also tests unique skills here at RaceFace.Pro for all our drivers in iRacing. Whether you're a fan of sprints, whether you're a fan of long races, you get to see it all. Michael Donaldson trying to make his way through, gets the power down. Is it going to be a lap time to count for him? Does cross the line and moves up into 8th place, second of the Pro-Ams. The last two runners currently out on circ. WJ Wilson down in all sectors. Arno Kraus up by the third sector, not being his best. The BMW still trying to tick by and give it all. Gotta say, love the tribute colors to the original BMW colors, and just adding a little bit of the Team Tryhard flavor to the side. Can't go wrong with it. WJ Wilson not having an easy time in that McLaren. Will have to settle for his best lap time of 356.7. So you'll start out in 11th position, with side-by-side Jason Krinkers out there in the Aston Martin. Previously was in the Mustang last season. Arno Kraus continues on his pace, trying to charge his way through at current. Not an easy time for him as he slings on by through the Porsche curves, through the Chevy chicane, and now it's just braking hard down into third. Switch it down into second. Bring the nose through. Flat on the gas on the exit. Is it going to be enough for Arno Kraus to jump up? It has been a good time on the board. And he does move up to 24th position with a 3-minute 59.8. So great running from our drivers, and looking forward to seeing what they can do. Taking a look over to our virtual grandstands, our VIPs out there. We've got the likes of Tennis Buerta supporting the likes of Pandacity Infiltrate. Also got Zoot saying, good luck, folks. This is going to be an awesome one. Benjamin England, one of our drivers, unfortunately not making it to the grid tonight. We'll be watching on the sidelines, but going and enjoying some of the celebrations out there and cheering on the crowd. Good to see you out there, but also sad to not see you on the grid. So as we wait for our finalized of our grid results so we can walk our way through it, drivers will be starting to get their setups all in order, filling the tanks up to the brim. Remember, during the course of this race, they will need to do all 4 tires off the car and carry on racing. They've got 40 minutes to get to the halfway mark. Tires should stay alive by that time and get going. You can push an hour mark with a full tank, especially on this circuit if you are happy to lift and coast. A couple of other drivers coming in. Benjamin Till saying, how's it? To everyone out there in the virtual grandstand. Yasin Samai going and saying, how's it? And good luck to everyone. Crazy Stunts coming and cheering in. Stephen Kutzer as well saying, let's go Malcolm. Let's go Jean. Team Ventura all the way. Is it going to be Ace Ventura? That is going to be the big question. And Tennis Buerta, Werner might have ran into an incident problem as well. Crazy Stunt saying a bit of a surprise for Cameron de Bastos to be out on pole. I think it was a surprise even for himself at this point to put himself out there. But let's see how it's going to work out. There's going to be lots of discussions down in the pits. Doesn't matter who you are, where you are, and where you come from. We are here for the likes of round 2 of our RaceFace.Pro iRacing GT3 Championship here in France at Le Mans to race around an 80-minute endurance round, this time by, and looking to fight their way through. One of the drivers that is fighting for the championship is the likes of Kakleko Makali. Unfortunately, not here on the grid. Rather unfortunate not to see him. But let's go through our pro points. It's Shortres who leads out on 146 points. 2 points away from Stephen Vessels. Malcolm Pringle lies in third. Jacques Ever, Werner Swart, Jakob van der Lith, Sergei Sarkov, Daniel Gilding, Paul Gerber, Tim Penny round out our top 10 in the points. Demi Herbert, along with WJ Wilson, Cameron de Bastos, Jan Engelbrecht, along with Werner Skuman, Joneman Press, Jean Jens van Rensburg, Sepp Geist, along with Liam Swinburne, will be finding it out. And Jason Krinkers rounds out our points for the pros. Moving on to our Pro-Am. As said, we unfortunately lost out to the likes of Kakleo Makali. Joshua Syme, it will be in second place, looking to score major points here. Arno Kraus, Etienne Swart, Ben England, Jonas Constantine, Sean Symes, along with Stephen Cakebread, Craig Starkey, and Dina Machai rounds out the pack. So, as we get ready to go to grid, and sometimes we run into timing getting a little bit stuck, we'll just get that sorted out. Sometimes you gotta love technology. Sometimes it doesn't really want to play nicely with you. But you can always figure out the next best plan. Drivers will be starting to make their way onto the grid, getting themselves all organized. It's going to be Cameron DeBastos, you see on the screen, starting out in pole position with Malcolm Pringle looking to get the run on him before they get underway. So, maximizing points here for our drivers. And let's take a look at the grid as we go through. It's Cameron DeBastos, Malcolm Pringle, Steven Vessels, Jacques Ever, Jonas Kostien, Jean Jans van Rensburg in 6th, along with Yeoman Price. Michael Donaldson will line up next to him. 2 rivals and former teammate going and being teammates on the circuit. One in LMP2, one in GTP. They're going to be racing next to each other. Sergei Sarkov and Yasin Ishmael in that top 10. 11th place is WJ Wilson along with Jason Krinkers down in that 12th spot. Willem Buerta, Werner Swart, Daniel Gilding along with Jaco van Lith, Noah Hendricks, Wesley Lewin, Paul Gerber and Jaco Kutzer round out our top 20. Semai, Etienne Swart, Jan Engelbrecht and Arno Kraus into that 24th position, but it's Tim Penny, Stephen Catebread, Robbie Teens, Duncan Roderick, Doe Gerber, Quinton Costa in 30th position. Dieter Machai along with Willem Pienaar, Sean Symes, George Reyes, Loic Randebel, Joshua Syme is rounding out in 36th with Eugene Berryman and Werner Skuman down in 38th position, and doesn't look like he's on the grid to start as our drivers starting to weave, get some heat into those tires, and will be looking to fight their way through. Who is going to get the run here as our drivers get ready to give it their absolute all? Cameron DeBastos with the pressure put on him. Malcolm Pringle will be sure to fight his way through. Going to be a big one. So a couple of things. Steven, can you run with the flag? Well, I'm not that fit. I would love to, but not quite. One day, just one day, I'll be there. And stay in the booth. Your luck isn't good. No, my luck has been rather terrible of late. And I think it's rather safe for everyone for me to stay in the booth. However, George Reyes is going to be starting a little bit further down the field, not where he wants to be. All drivers will start to fall into single file going through the chicane to ensure that no major accidents will incur. That's to just try and help out any of our drivers out there. But it is a bit dark. It is going to be a bit difficult for everyone to get themselves going. The weaving left to right, trying to generate heat into the tires, into the brakes. It's going to be charging the way through, all looking to be clean. We do have a bit of side-by-side with Michael Donaldson getting ahead of Yeoman Price. Yeoman switches around him. And here they go. Lights on. Safety car off. Who's going to get the pace? Side by side as they go for the green. And lights on. Away we go. And Cameron DeBastos losing out a little bit of drive off the start. It's Steven Vessels to keep the pressure on. Now looking to try and get by at the fight at the moment. It is Cameron DeBastos pulling away. Steven Vessels trying to go and cut in on the inside of Malcolm Pringle. Slows up a little bit. That has brought Jacques Ever a little bit closer to contention, along with Jonas Kostien, leader of the Pro-Ams, trying to slice his way through. Each of the drivers hoping to get that little bit more pace, get that little bit more chase down the road. Jonas Kostien leads out the Pro-Ams. Applies the pressure immediately onto the back of Malcolm Pringle. Jacques Ever trying to put the chase down. He's got Jean Jans van Rensburg out in that Acura NSX, also known as the Honda NSX. They got the likes of Yeoman Price, Michael Donaldson continuing to follow suit in tow. Yasin Ishmael trying to improve as well. We have got a couple of drivers that battled a little bit early on the start, and that was like Doe Gerber, who didn't have an easy one. A little bit of shoulder bashing with drivers. He's tucked in behind the likes of Dina Machai, who has got Duncan Roderick up ahead of him. Loic Randebel trying to get the pass done down the straight, aiming for the inside line. Late on the brakes. Can the Porsche make it stick? However, it's going to be tight as he battles against the 31 of likes of Dino and just can't get the drive on that Ferrari. Investigate why on earth it's acting this way in terms of the stream. See what we can do to try and fix everything going on. In. Apologies for the broadcast being a bit weird at this current moment. We are adjusting to try and help get the broadcast back in